Hello, and welcome in for a special edition of the August Empowerment Reading. This is a little excerpt from the reading that kicked off the month here as we are leaping into August with our empowerment messages for the month. I am Marissa from Grow in the Flow, and this is my loving service that is all about empowering you through my intuitive tarot and oracle card readings and other spiritual musings to weave together nature symbolism, the universe. We talk about numerology, astrology, and all of the different aspects that we can tune into to glean awarenesses and insights that connect us in with our own intuition and empower you with information, with guidance and insight. So each month we gather, we work together, and I channel some words that kind of set the tone. And this month's were very interesting. They were inspired by nature and some photography of my own from several years ago that I wanted to share with you here to explain where our channeled words for the month are coming from and how we can tune into how nature speaks to us, and especially around this idea of metamorphosis, of transition, of being in the in between, as we are all collectively undergoing a massive shift in human consciousness and this metamorphosis. And when we're in the in between, in the mucky, the murky, the sticky parts, this is really something that was coming through in a practical, metaphorical way to help to make some sense out of it for me, that I shared with my Empowerment Pack group this month. And I wanted to share it with all of you, as well as share a little bonus, a free workbook that I've put together for some integration of this information. So what's going to play here is about 12 minutes of what I shared in that first reading for the August Empowerment Pack, and this beautiful workbook that has some tarot spread, some journal prompts, an integration prompt. It's just there for you to check out. You can download and print and have for your own integration of these messages. So just thank you so much for being here. We are celebrating 5 years of Grow in the Flow this month. So we have a lot of exciting things going on. It's not too late to join us for the August Empowerment Pack. So there'll be information in the caption below about how we can work together more comprehensively this month, as well as information on the giveaway I have going on throughout this month for all bookings, and several other ways that you can get in for the 5 prizes I'll be giving away at the end of this month to celebrate our empowerment through growing through the flow here and everything that we are moving through. So thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoy. Please say hello in the comments. Let me know if you do try any of the exercises in the workbook. I'd love to know what's coming up for you. Let's hop to it. So here we go. Let's jump into our theme of August, from the deep to the leap. Now, we dropped some spiritual breadcrumbs back in July for the new moon in Leo, where I shared my transition card, which featured one of the photos you see on our altar this month, a photograph I took back in 2013 on a family trip to Maine, that tadpole in transition. And I shared that message with the new moon in Leo. And that was really when things have been starting to come in for me around this theme, mostly focused on the tadpole so much as the frog. And it was interesting to search for information about the spiritual symbolism of tadpole over frog, because you don't hear about that as often, that in between stage of transition. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that and just kind of some of what was coming forward for me, and just how we're pulling this into a message for your contemplation throughout this month, and how you can work with this energy. You know, this tadpole that I came across had legs, right? So it was in this in between. It's no longer just a swimmer, not yet a leaper. And this is like us in transition, this awkward, holy, and full of potential state of being that's all the things, you know. And it ties into nature speaking. What tadpoles do is they stir nutrients from the pond's bottom in the deep, which ultimately fuels ecosystem growth. And, you know, with that comes another photograph from that trip that I just newly uncovered. I went back and looked at all my photos, and here was another frog in that pond that was sort of submerged with just its head above the water. The symbolism as, even when the maturation has took place, the tail has dissolved, and we've come into our gills and also are ready to take that leap. Even as frogs, even in that state, we sometimes linger partly underwater, one foot in the old ways, one in the new, right? Because growth isn't linear. It's a dialogue with the depth of dipping down, stirring it up, bringing out those nutrients, feeling, re-energized, perhaps emboldened to take that leap, and then going for it. So much symbolism coming forward here from nature as I was, moved. And you will also see some homemade frogs on the altar as well. These were made by my kids over the years. These are part of my spring decorations that I bring out. So I always love to weave in these real life symbols that are infused with this energy of bringing through these practical ways and these everyday ways and the ways that nature speaks into our spiritual development, our growth, our evolution. So this spiritual deep, being where the shadows and the wisdom swirls, like tadpoles churning that sediment, our messy phases release nourishment we didn't know we carried. And that leap of faith, frogs presumably don't overthink their first jump. They just trust their legs. And it had me thinking, and I don't know how scientifically accurate, but I thought to myself, it's a relatively quick process, the metamorphosis process of the tadpole to the frog. And I thought, how strange it must be to be born from this egg, only ever being underwater with gills, swimming like a fish with a tail, where suddenly these two budding appendages start to sprout from you. And you wake up one day as a tadpole and you start to have these extra bits and you still have a tail but you have legs, and how does that affect the swim? And it kind of made me think about this key word of lag. What is lagging, what is coming with us from the old, that tail, these new legs, and how awkward and how just difficult it can be to place how to be in that energy anytime we're going through a great transformation, as we all are as a humanity. So August is asking, where are you ready to leap before you feel ready? And bringing in all of this energy. I'll have some things to share with you, that I have a little spread for you and some journal prompts for contemplation that will also be in that integration document. But one of the beautiful messages and affirmations that's come forward is where you may place a hand over your heart and say, I honor my deep, I prepare my leap. And then perhaps pull a card for what bridges those two from the deep to the leap. So we'll build on that with the integration document. If you have any questions, if you would like me to pull a card for you, you just let me know. Let's take a peek a little more at this tadpole symbolism, because I just thought it was so spot on and I'd love to share some more with you. So here is an up close of that tadpole photograph with the tail and the legs, and a little more on the symbolism and meaning of the tadpole. Now, I am putting the links to where I located a lot of this information, that if you want to expand on that, it'll be in that resource document as well. So now the tadpole really, in this quietude of their watery world, really symbolizes those early stages of becoming, like in utero, right? It's a potent emblem of transformation, embodying that raw, unformed potential that precedes our significant growth. And so, in our personal mythologies, the tadpole may represent the quiet before the storm of change, that gestation period of a new self. And beyond the transformation, the tadpole symbolizes adaptability, navigating the currents and the depths of its environment. And the tadpole embodies flexibility and resilience. A lot of these are key words that we know are overarching themes of this year, right? And so, this small creature, a tadpole, as a spirit animal for some, teaches us to navigate the ever shifting tides of life with grace and fluidity, reminding us that survival lies not in rigidity, but in our ability to bend with the currents, adapt to the changing landscape of our lives, and emerge stronger. And finally, the tadpole speaks to that inherent hopefulness being embedded in every beginning. And so, though small and vulnerable, it carries within it the promise of a future, a fully realized form that's yet to be unveiled. And so, this can manifest in our own mythos as an unwavering belief in our potential, a quiet conviction that even in the murky depths of uncertainty, we hold the blueprint for a brighter tomorrow. Now, a couple of the archetypes that were being referenced with the tadpole and its relationship with those things is the pond, its birthplace, where it begins, and from where it leaps. So the tadpole's relationship with the pond is maybe less one of cohabitation and more of that complete cellular fusion, because the pond is where it's not merely just that setting, but like the womb, the self contained cosmos. So there's some really beautiful information I found that was really speaking to the deep symbolism with this tadpole swimming within that world. And, really dependent on that until it has taken through that, murky water, the soft mud, stirring up those nutrients before. And it gave this phrase that it can also be a beautiful prison, because to leave is not just to change, but to betray the very medium that gave it life. I mean, those are some powerful words. This idea that that old way of being, that pond, that familiar murky space that we've had our beginnings from, a beautiful prison, because leaving it can feel like a betrayal of the very thing that brought us here, that nurtured us, that provided the soil, however fertile or not, that we've grown through to get to where we are heading. And so it's really calling for taking that radical leap. The sunken log, another symbol, things that come up in ponds, this energy of being able to connect in with these aspects of nature and utilizing them for that step up or that ability as an anchor, that log, to really hide in its hollows as shelter. It's like within the bones of that story before it's ready to take that leap. I mean, some really beautiful poetic alignments here. And with that came these affirmations, or just thoughts for contemplation. I am the tadpole, churning the unseen with my tail, learning to leap in a world that knew me only as a swimmer. That really hits for me because it's like very it can be very difficult and vulnerable to step out and step into your new way of being, your newest, most authentic version of you, when everyone always knew you only as where you're coming from, where you're leaping from. So I thought that was really powerful. So we leave our tadpole frog mythos there, reminding you to check out that resource document to dive even deeper. So here we're panning out to the big pond and seeing, we've just been taking a look at what was going on beneath the surface. And just at the surface, here's another picture of that beautiful space, just to kind of give us a reflection again of reminding us how nature speaks and how there's always higher, wider, more expansive perspectives to be taken, no matter how mucky, murky, deep, and scary it can feel. And speaking of scary, I just shared the other day when I was introducing August that I was going to show you guys this picture. So here it is. So with these photos, I found this adorable family photo of us in Maine again in 2013. We're down one Jeffries. This is before Elena Joy joined the parade. And I was mentioning how, prior versions of ourself that have been laid to rest. And for me, I have reflected upon my new mom haircut that was the bangs and the short, no nonsense, just making it through the day up to your elbows and diapers and bottles and nap times and all the things. It made me chuckle, and also warmed my heart to look back at this picture of our little family growing and expanding, and just kind of bringing that into these messages. My bangs, never to return, but yet they served their purpose, right? They helped me to move through those busy days with more ease, right? So I leave you with that as we turn towards our altar now to check out our card pulls for these altar elements.